welcome to the Hide With Us podcast. This is Anthony Gauna with your co-host Daniel Martinez on here, crushing the game. We have an amazing episode coming up for you here. I know this is going to be a good one. We have Mr. Novation Nation himself on here, Geary. So I'm excited about today's episode. If it would behoove you to listen to this whole thing, because I'm sure he's going to bring the fire. What's up, Corey?
What's going on, guys? Truly honored and blessed to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for hanging out with us, man. Yeah, we know your time is valuable, so let's get right into it.
Absolutely, man. Let's do it.
So, how long you been in real estate? Let's always start with that question because some people we're kind of new kids on the block. We're in it 4 years, and a lot of people have way more experience than us.
I don't have too much more. I got into real estate. I bought my first house to flip in the end of 2016.
Oh, wow.
That was when I first got into real estate. I was watching that show, Flip or Flop, with Tarek Al-Musa. Everyone knows it on HGTV. I had some money saved up. I was a blackjack dealer at the time, saving up some money. My girlfriend was a part-time realtor, part-time blackjack dealer, and we're watching that show, and she's like, "Why don't you flip a house so I could list it?" I was like, "I don't know. Why don't I flip a house? I mean, it seems easy enough. 30 minutes, you make 80 grand." And so like the next morning, I'm on my morning run and I see one of those signs. It says, the bandit sign says, fix and flip, buy price 250, ARV 350. And I stop on my morning run. I call that number on that sign. I buy that house. It took me 6 months and I made $8,000. That was my first real estate deal.
Look where you are now, man. You paid the admission price.
Yeah, well, that one worked out well. On my second deal, I bought one from a wholesaler, made 20 grand. But on my third deal, I was an idiot. I bought 4 houses all at once. I ended up getting, I had to get a new contractor because the other one, we split ways. Well, the new one was even worse. He took us to the cleaners and I lost $250,000 on my third transaction in real estate. It broke me. I lost my 401k money. I lost my previous flip money, my life savings, and I was basically done, except for I had my job. And so that's how I got into wholesaling, because you'd always hear about wholesalers get deals with no money, right? You don't need money to get into real estate. And I literally went on Google and I typed in how do wholesalers get deals, and freaking Sean Terry popped up.
Oh, nice.
Did you connect with him right away, or what?
I bought his course. I joined his mastermind, and now I'm fortunate enough. I call him a friend, man. We have phone conversations all the time, and he's a good dude. I went down the Sean Terry rabbit hole, man. It took me 10 months when I decided I was going to start wholesaling to get my first deal. We were doing bandit signs, direct mail, and then my first deal made 10 grand, and I was off to the races after that. I built out a call floor in my living room. I put a bunch of cubicles in my living room, and I hired college kids to come in and cold call for me so I could go out and lock up deals. And that was how I got into real estate, man.
So I really want to hit on this first. Is you had a really, really big loss early on. Like how do you overcome such a big loss? Because that's a big hit that'll knock somebody out of the business completely.
Yeah, man. It's my personality. I'm very stubborn. I'm very hard-headed, bro. I hate losing. If you play me in video games or whatever, I'm the same way. Sports, it don't matter. I just hate losing, right? And so I felt like the only way I was going to win and get my money back is if I push forward. So it actually gave me more motivation, more drive. I mean, I was determined, man, because I just took the big lump. I was like, I didn't want to lose everything and just continue being a card dealer for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It was me just being stubborn. And I was just like, I'm not going to just lay down and die here. I'm not going to lose. I have to make this money back.
That's amazing.
I think that's the mindset that it takes in this business, man. It's because we're all going to get a beat up here and there. You might lose on a deal. Get your hopes set up high and then knock down low from one day to the next. So you have to have that. Funny story, just 2 seconds. When I was a kid, my parents bought me a Nintendo, and when I would lose, I would get furious and I would start crying. I would throw the remote control. So.
Me too, man. I would break the remote.
You got to have that grit, and I think it goes above mindset, because a lot of people talk about, I do like having that correct mindset, but you just got to have that internal drive that just doesn't turn off.
You do, man. You do. And you just got to be able to take the L and be able to know how to move forward and not let it kill you, right? And we take L's all the time, man. To this day, I make mistakes all the time. I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We get shiny object syndrome, right? And we try and in other ventures. They don't work out, and you lose money. And it's like, it's just how it goes.
Yeah. So how'd you do the transition, man? So, okay, so you're busted. You're pretty pissed off. You find Sean Terry. Now what? So you sign up for his course. You start attending his masterminds. What was the catalyst? Like, what did you figure out working with him that made you say, you know what, this is good. This is going to change the game for me, and made you stick with him?
Well, he taught me how to go direct to seller, where before, I was buying from other wholesalers. I was trying to be the fix and flip guy on TV, right? That's what I was kind of chasing. So he taught me how to go direct to seller and get the deals myself, and back then it was kind of more the, do direct mail, put up bandit signs, and cold calling kind of came around a little bit later. But yeah, and it's just by repeating the marketing, and I still have my job at the very least, right? I was able to make money at the casino and still put money into the business as I was, doing more marketing and trying to scale the business up. Like I said, it took me 10 months to get my first wholesale deal. Because I wasn't any good at sales, right? Like I didn't have any previous sales experience. And, I was talking to all these homeowners and between Sean, but also I signed up for John Martinez sales training. That helped me a lot with my conversations with sellers, and I was able to start locking deals up.
Dude, I would have never guessed that about you, man. I thought you were just a natural. Maybe he was born with it.
I'm good as far as like being like a social butterfly and talking to people, but like I didn't know how to have these conversations with sellers. You know what I mean? I was just giving them offers, and then like they'd say no, then I'd hang up and never call them back again. It was like
you're a one-hit wonder.
So I was trying to be, right? But you learn the process. You learn how to have these conversations and how to like dive into pain and motivation and what their picture perfect is and how many times you got to follow up with them. And it's all about time and circumstance with these sellers, and you got to hit them multiple times over until the circumstance hits at the right time where they had to sell the property. And so you learn all these things as you go. But yeah, man, it was quite the struggle in the beginning of my journey. So
one thing I always had a struggle too, accepting 7 months to get my first deal, and it took you 10 months. You can always use that one night because now you're coaching too, and it's like, I can't get a deal in 30 days. What's wrong with me? And I'm like, I did 10 months in the trenches, and it's like you always have like that upper, like, yeah, it took me 10 months to get that deal. Look at me now.
Absolutely. I mean, I've heard of people taking all the way up to a year before, you know what I mean? And some people, they get it right out of the gate, man. They'll get a deal like in the first month or two. So
it took me 45 days to get my first contract.
How long? 45 days?
Yeah, but I dropped like 25 grand in marketing, dude. So I had a marketing background. So I was like, if I just spend enough money, I'll get a deal.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So let's talk about your bread and butter. How did you learn about novations, man? And how long have you been doing novations?
That's a great question, man. So I started novations in the beginning of last year. And so I'll kind of fast forward on my real estate journey. So I'm starting to do local deals. We're doing 5 to 10 deals a month, doing okay. And I start going these masterminds, right? And start hearing about people doing this nationwide thing. Everyone's starting to get the nationwide starting to get glorified. Sean Terry starting to teach it. And I was like, okay, so if I want to scale, I got to get out of, because I'm in Phoenix, and Phoenix is a very competitive market. And I'm like, all right, to scale, I go nationwide. Well, we went nationwide, man. I almost went bankrupt because we couldn't sell any of the contracts. We didn't know how to underwrite the deals. It was a shit show. And so like maybe 1 out of every 5 agreements would close. And so like now we're good at it. Now we're good nationwide wholesaling. But in the beginning, we sucked. And so I was in a mastermind one day, and this guy was doing a presentation of his business, and he was talking about novations, and it was on a local model. And he's like, yeah, we do novations, and we sell our deals on the MLS to conventional buyers. I was like, if I could figure out how to sell my deals in the MLS to conventional buyers nationwide, this could fix my pain point in my business. And so I dove deep down the rabbit hole. I bought people's courses and started following whoever was doing it. The problem is the old school traditional way of doing it. We tried it. I didn't like it, like using the power of attorney, collecting the seller's proceeds, stuff like partnering with the seller. And so just by paying enough money to an attorney, my own attorney, we're able to create our model of doing novations. And the way we do it is like wholesaling without taking possession. That's the best way to explain it at a 30,000 foot overview, because I want to be able to scale it and not have a lot of liability. And if you're collecting seller's proceeds at the end of the close and you ever end up in court for real estate fraud, it's going to look bad in front of a judge if you use the power of attorney, collected proceeds, and everything else. So I just wanted to mitigate my liability. So we just really dove deep on it. I mean, in the beginning, it sucked. A lot of our deals, we screwed them up, just like anything else. And it took us a while to get traction with it. But now, man, 8 out of every 10 deals that come in are novations now. We're a novation company first, wholesale second. I don't even like wholesaling.
Dude, okay, so look, I feel like I'm right where you are, right before you popped. So we have been doing a lot of wholetailing, double closing, but 99% of the people you talk to, they're too close to retail to make the deal juicy. But if we could list them, I mean, that's the magic sauce right there. So do you want to go into what somebody might learn if they go to novationnation.com and sign up for the training?
For sure, man. So you're going to learn a few things. Obviously, you got to learn how to handle the conversation with the seller, how to pitch it, right? We call it the novation conversation. So you got to have that novation conversation to convince them to go with what we call the concierge service. And it's not that hard, though, because think about like pitching seller financing or sub 2. You're trying to convince a seller to take their payments over 30 years or transfer their mortgage to you, right? Where we're just saying, hey, Mr. Seller, let us bring a third-party buyer to the table via a network of realtors and MLS, and you're going to get the net amount that you want or that we negotiate on. And so it's a lot easier pitch than creative financing. And so it really is marrying basically retail and wholesale together. And so the pitch is what you're going to learn. Obviously, you got to understand the paperwork. There are five different tools that you need for novations. You need obviously your purchase agreement, which is pretty standard. You're going to have a novation clause in there. So you have the upfront transparency disclosure on your first agreement. The second thing you're going to need is a novation and indemnification agreement. This identifies the seller, identifies you, and it spells out exactly legally what you're doing in the transaction. And then the third thing is we use what's called an attorney in fact. So we don't do the power of attorney anymore. The attorney in fact, it only gives you the rights to sign on the seller's behalf. So you don't have rights over the real estate no more. The power of attorney, you have the rights over the real estate, where attorney in fact, we're only having the rights to sign on their behalf. So basically we can sign the listing, we can sign any offers coming in, but we don't sign the deed because the deed is not in, we're not a power of attorney. We don't have control over the real estate. So the seller still signs the final deed, right? The closing paperwork, but we're able to sign everything else. So those are the first three things you need up front. Then after you get a buyer in place, we put what's called a notice of interest in the property. And this just clouds title and basically allows us to do two things. One, it allows us to get paid at the end of the transaction because in novations, you're cutting yourself out of the deal. Where in assignments, you're staying in the middle via an assignment. In novations, you're novating the contract. Novation means replacement of agreements. So you have to get paid somehow. So we record a lien on the property via notice of interest. And so that also protects us too if the deal were to go south. So we put the notice of interest in the property once we get a buyer in place. And then once we're ready to close, we do what's called a release of interest. And the release of interest is our payoff. And so what's great about a lien in the property or a notice is that any underwriting will approve it. So if they're going for conventional financing, if they see your assignment on there, they're not going to approve that. But if they see like a mechanics lien, if they see another mortgage, if they see like a city lien or your lien, they will approve your payoff. So that's how we get paid.
That's really good. We have a question in the chat that says, can you do this on distressed property?
You can do it on distressed property. A couple things though. Depends on the distress. For one, if it's a distressed seller in a way where they need their money in like 3 weeks, and there's just no two ways about it. Like you can't novate a deal in 3 weeks because you got to go to market with this deal. And so you have the time on being on market and the time that you're going to have to close with that conventional buyer. So if they're in a fire sale, then no, you're not going to be able to do that. But if the property is in distress as far as like maintenance, it's just a little bit more of a beat up house, you can novate those deals. You could just want to novate them to a conventional buyer or a cash buyer. Don't novate them to an FHA or VA buyer unless you're planning on making the repairs. Because with FHA and VA, you have to pay for the repairs. Where in conventional, you can do a buyer credit.
Ooh, that's a great distinction, man. Can we dive into that for a little bit? Because I think we're using a lot of terms and phrases
I know.
that, maybe half of our audience might not even know what we're talking about. So, okay, so if we back it up real quick, so this, and I'm actually trying to like pick some of this up myself too. So you're going to have an novation agreement that you sign with the property owner, gives you permission to sell the property. So now, can you talk a little bit about a conventional versus an FHA loan and how that can kind of affect novations?
So conventional is the second best to cash, right? Cash obviously is king. It's the best, but conventional is right up there with it, man. It's not government backed. FHA and VA are government backed programs. So during the inspection period, they have to pass the livability of the property. Would say the property has to pass their inspection to say it's livable, so it can get approved by that government backed program. But with conventional financing, it doesn't. It doesn't. You don't have to have it. There is the inspection is only for the buyer. That's all it's for. The buyer knows the condition of the property. When you get an inspection on an FHA loan, it's not just for the buyer, it's for the lender. So those are the two biggest differences. So if you're in an inspection period on a conventional loan and they come back, you need a new roof, then you're just going to go, okay, hey, Mr. Realtor, how much does it cost for a new roof there in your market? And they can be like, well, it's $8,500 typically. Okay, how about we credit your buyer $8,500 at the close of escrow for that roof? And that's typically, that's how we get 95% of our repairs done. Now we'll do some stuff like if the realtor's going out and say, hey, it'd be really good if you got the property cleaned up, remove some of this junk, maybe power wash the driveway, something like that. If it's cheap and easy, kind of like wholesaling. If you can wholesale a property and not do much to it, we'll do that. But as far as the major repairs, we're letting the inspector tell us what we need to fix or what we need to do credit for.
Okay, dude, amazing. Okay, I love it. So for a conventional, what's their typical down payment? They're gonna need a little bit more down than an FHA loan.
Well, there was conventional financing out there for 5%, but I think with all the what's going on in the marketplace, I'm not sure if it's out there. Typically, it's 20%, and most of our buyers do put 20% down.
That's what I was thinking, probably somewhere to the tune of like 20 or 25. And then FHA, is there a typical number for that for down?
Yeah, you got FHA loans out there for 3%. So, okay. and I won't say we won't do FHA and VA. We'll do them, but you got to know your financial risk threshold. If you're new at novations, don't have a lot of money in the bank account, it's good to stay away from the FHA and VA. And when we do the FHA, it's because maybe we get a deal in a rural area. In the rural areas, you really have to open up your buyer pool. You know what I mean? And so as long as we know going into the property, we'll have like the realtor go out there, inspect it, maybe even pay for an inspection, a pre-inspection to be done to the property before we go ahead and, and put it on the MLS to see what's going to cost us to get everything fixed. So you got to know your financial risk threshold, man. And if you're comfortable, my last one, we put in $27,000 in the property. Sold it to an FHA buyer, and we netted $42,000. And this was in a little tiny town called Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Wow.
So those is when you kind of have to open it up to FHA and VA. But if you're doing if I'm doing a novation here in Phoenix, I do not need to put FHA or VA on that listing. I can do this cash and conventional.
Okay. And are you putting that in that listing as well? So like if it's rural, you're going to put FHA, VA, and you kind of tell your seller it might take 90 days, 120 days to sell this.
Full transparency is key.
Yeah.
Full transparency is key. Right from the get-go with the seller. And when you explain to them that you're going to be bringing a third-party buyer to the table, that it typically takes this long to get our buyer in place. And you're just going to go on the MLS, or you can go on PropStream and look at what your average days on market in that particular area are. And that's how you're going to kind of, figure out what your average days on market are, so you can be fully transparent with the seller.
Yeah, I like to under promise, over deliver. Yeah, let's get a long for a timeline.
And we always try to price it a little under market, right? So we want to make sure that the properties are moving faster than your typical transaction on the MLS there in that market. So we always try to come under. And right now we're really going low. Like we just had a meeting with my acquisition team on Monday. And we're positioning our offers even lower. So the cash offer, we're always leading with cash. Everything should always be led with cash offer. That's your anchor. So we'll come in, cash offer, maybe like 40%, 35% of whatever, the value is. And then we come in, maybe 5, 10, 15,000 over that with the concierge service offer. So we're anchoring even lower now just because of the market uncertainty. But I'll tell you something. even with a recession upon us, retail will never go away. If you look back in the 1980s when the interest rates were at 18%, people were still buying houses. But what does go away? The investors, the HGTV house, the flippers, those guys kind of go away. So if you position your novation offers in the correct way, it's recession proof.
I think everybody's thinking about that right now, man. We're seeing a lot of cash buyers folding up shop, lots of wholesalers getting scared, lots of fear in the market.
It's getting tough, man, or they're lowballing the crap out of you, right? We have one property right now. It's a duplex. And I was like, man, we should make 20 on this easily. And I know I got my comps right, and they're just lowballing the crap out of us. Like we might make 5 on it. And it's like, oh my God, it's just the market is shifting. And so we just you need to put other tools in your tool belt. You know, another great thing for a recession is seller financing. Seller financing is a great way to go into recession and pick up a bunch of cash flowing properties, you know, keep them for yourself or sell to investors. So this is when these creative strategies really shine, is during a recession.
Yeah, man, we've been pushing that real hardcore right now is a seller finance. So we're hitting them with a few offers. Yeah, the cash offer and a seller finance offer. And then we've been threatening like a novation because I still haven't learned everything about it. So I'm going to have to check out your course. But we've been saying, you know, just to kind of call their bluff, it's like, well, let us list it for you then, you know, so let's see where you're at for real. So this is cool, man. How much can somebody expect to pay for your novation course training? And then what does it come with?
Well, I'll tell you what, just for the call, man, I did a little discount for everybody. Typically, we charge $19.97 for the course because it's all the videos explaining how to conduct a novation, including all the paperwork, which cost me thousands. Like literally,
I was going to say that alone by itself is worth the price of the course. Yeah.
Yeah, but if they go to the novationnation.com right now, I set the price for $9.97. So it's literally 50% what we normally sell it for. And so it's basically just step-by-step directions, how we pitch the novation conversation, how to, you know, basically conduct the transaction, because that's the hard part, right? The back end of running novations is where it gets really tough because you're dealing with all the realtors, brokers, appraisers, inspections, and it's almost like you're a brokerage. Like sometimes me and my team are like, are we like a nationwide brokerage? Like it feels like it sometimes. And so that's where really a lot of the knowledge you're going to learn on novations comes in, and just, you know, understanding the paperwork and how to, you know, what each document does in the transaction.
Man, anybody that's watching this, whether you're a wholesaler or even a seasoned investor, if you're not using novations, I promise you, if you pick up that training for $9.97, you'll make it back probably in your first 30 days, because we've been leaving so much money on the table, passing by all those sellers that could be turned into novations. So I've been thinking about it, praying about it. You know, I know tis the season. If you're ever going to do it, you need to do it right now, or a pretty good chance you're going to go out of business. So
yeah, start learning these creative strategies now and implement all of them, right? And don't be a one-trick pony. It's never to be good, even in a bull market. You don't want to be a one-trick pony, right? It's good. Wholesaling is great. Don't get me wrong, but that's the gateway drug to real estate.
Yep, that's the gateway drug.
Way to put it. That's funny, but true.
Yeah. So and we also
go ahead.
I'll just say we also have a mastermind too. If people want a more hands-on, hand-holding type structure, we have a mastermind that we teach, you know, nationwide wholesaling and novation deal making using PPC as your main marketing strategy. Basically, how to mirror my business. So I just wanted to throw that in it too. If everybody was interested in more like hand-holding, where the course is just what it is. It's a course. So
okay, so that's what I was wondering, if the course, if it had anything else attached to it. So there's a separate product, which is a mastermind. What does that include, and then how much is that?
So yeah, well, there's 30 members in the group right now, and it includes basically we're doing bi-weekly calls where we get on a Zoom call and talk about one concept in the business that we're doing, or maybe people are having problems with. We JV with students. I don't JV with the public because I just don't have the bandwidth to JV with the public. So I hold it specifically for my students. They get direct access to me and my team. So like if they're having a problem recording a notice of interest in Washington, Josh will get on a Zoom call with them and show them exactly how to record that notice of interest. You know, we help them find realtors in the virtual markets. We have a network of realtors who are novation friendly. And so we just kind of hold you by the hand as you're doing these deals. And also we teach you how to do nationwide PPC, because that's our main flow of leads. Our lead generation is PPC. I run my own PPC. I brought it in-house over a year ago. I got tired by getting raped by these third-party servicing companies who would charge me an arm and a leg. And so there's a lot of good companies out there. Don't get me wrong. There are good companies out there. I just had a lot of bad luck. So I brought it in-house and learned it myself. So the cost is $9,997 one time, and then $197 a month. But if you reach out to me directly, we can work out a discount. If they mention you guys on this, they saw on this call, we could figure out a discount for them. So
boom. Yeah. If there's any way you guys can get involved with Corey, man, I'm telling you, you're going to make the money back so quick. I mean, literally, it takes you one deal to make your money back. So you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not using these strategies. Trust me, for 3.5 years, I've been cutting my teeth, and it's been lots of pain and suffering. So if I just got started and I knew you then and what you were offering, and I'd jump in 10 seconds. So I am going to pick up the Novation training course, and yeah, we hope to roll into that mastermind soon too.
Yeah, and once I JV 1 or 2 with you, like if you were in the group, like literally you'll get your concept around how to transact these deals. And I saw somebody just ask, I don't know who that was, about a transaction coordination company. Okay, this is a great question. You got to beware of title companies when you're doing novations. They will kill your deals. Oh my God. That's how I know. They just don't understand the concept, right? And so some of them do, but not. But I mean, literally, my guy would be here in the office. We get a new deal in the market, and he would be calling 10, 15, 20 title companies, trying to find one that would do a novation deal for us. I mean, sometimes you call a title company in these rural areas, and they don't even know what an assignment is. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, where you been for the last 20 years? Haven't you heard of Sean Terry and Cody Sperber? Like, it's like, how do you not know an assignment? So you got to be careful. So now we use a transactional company that's nationwide. They have a Rolodex of all the title companies that are novation friendly. They're also like sub 2 friendly, seller financing friendly, and they conduct all our TC work on the back end. And I have a link. If anybody wants to know who they are, you can go to actually novationclosings.com and you can sign up with those guys. And they will conduct all your novation deals, any creative financing deals, and of course, wholesaling too. But they will scout out the best title company in that market, and they have great relationships, and they handle all the back-end paperwork. They communicate with your seller to keep your seller on track, to make sure that they're getting to the closing table. They contact with your buyer to make sure everything is working the correct. I mean, I used to have a lady in here when we last year at my peak, I had 64 deals on the board, and her only job was to call every seller every week and check in with them. Well, I was able to let her go once I hired, the transactional company, because they check in with the sellers all the time for me and help keep everything basically on the rails.
Yeah, that's another sticking point I'm getting to now. So that's an amazing resource again, man. Thank you.
It will as you scale. Yeah, as you scale, man. I'm trying to outsource as much stuff as possible, because TC work is not my strong point. Like, I can't read title abstract. It's like a foreign language, man. It's like, what am I supposed to do here? How do I fix the problem?
Yeah. That's one thing you will do in this business, is you will burn your time doing menial tasks that you should be giving to somebody else anyway, so you can kind of do your one thing.
Yep, 120%, dude. And this year I've been on a mission to outsource and go virtual and cut overhead down. That is my mission for 2022, and we're doing a good job doing it.
Man, can you give us like that 360-foot view? So
last year in office, 5 acquisitions, 3 dispositions, a TC, the file handler. This was my whole team. I literally went at the end of last year, I cleaned house, and now I hire mainly VAs. I have 2 people in-house. I have my lead dispositions and junior dispositions because of novations. And because we're so novation heavy, they have to make sure all the brokers are handled, the appraisals, the inspections. I don't have that to a VA yet. It might happen in the future, but like all my acquisition agents are virtual. They're out in Egypt. And so literally they're locking up our deals I have a closer. The key to this is you got to have a sales manager, badass closer, who is having like consistent training with them every single day, tracking their KPIs, listening to their calls, role playing with them. And if you have someone who could do this, you really could create a massive virtual acquisition team. And that's what I'm on a mission. We have 7 now. My goal is by the end of the year, I want to have 10 that are high performing. So we have 7, 2 of them are still in training. So we're constantly, but it's taken time, man, because we're about 6, 7 months in, and I would say the first 2 or 3 months, there was no contracts from them. It was just all training. So it's been a lot of work, but I mean, my overhead, man, last year, my overhead at my peak was about $110,000 a month. And I think last time I checked, I was 24,000.
Dang, dude, that's incredible.
So I just, man, when you have high overhead and you have those bad months, you just can't sleep at night. And I just got, coming into all this, uncertainty in the market, I'm like, I got to lean up like crazy.
Yeah, words of wisdom, man. I think that's something that we all need to be thinking about right now. I think a lot of people are still like, both the sellers and wholesalers or real estate investors, they're having a state of denial, but it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks if you're not preparing that runway right now.
Oh boy, yeah. Don't be the last one who caught with your pants down, because you're not going to be able to make it through. That's for sure.
So surviving this market, you talked about pitching a seller finance, novations. Any other tips for somebody to make sure they have something to eat at Christmas time this year?
Well, I mean, kind of obviously having multiple tools in a tool belt. I mean, there's so many of them out there. You got lease options, right? You got seller finance, you got sub 2. Then you got novations, besides all the different strategies, then, like we just talked about, cutting that overhead way down. So that way, if you have a couple bad months, it's not going to hurt your pocketbook too hard, right? So that's the other big key, man. We are also flirting with the idea of creating a real estate fund. It's not for sure yet. It'd be probably a Reg D or Reg CF. I haven't even decided on that yet. We had a conversation earlier today where if we could raise money and start buying these properties when the recession really takes place, I mean, we're talking about, pennies on the dollar compared to the last bull cycle. I mean, we could buy all these properties up, cash flow them, and then in 4 or 5 years, exit on the next bull run. Man, a lot of wealth can be built there. So that's just something that we're in talks of right now. It's nothing solid. But yeah, man, just creative financing, novations, get that overhead down, really watch your marketing cost. Yeah.
So what is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Oh, I will not die without my best intentions. That's probably one of my favorite quotes. I came up with it one night. I will not die without my best intentions in this life. Yeah. I'll tell you what best book I've read, though, that has plenty of, I mean, I can't even recite all of them, is Outwitting the Devil with Napoleon Hill. Is probably one of the best books I've ever read as far as like mindset and quotes and just, getting, in that entrepreneurial like frame of mind, man. It's amazing.
That's a good one, man. I always like ask that question because you always get like varying answers and you never know what you're gonna get. And it's just like,
right. I didn't give me time to think about it either. I was like, what are my favorite quote? Yeah.
it's a good curveball to throw. So let's kind of back up. If somebody is struggling and needs to get that next deal, is novations a thing to learn?
Absolutely, man. It's like I said, it's just another tool in the tool belt. If you're now if they're struggling, it depends on why they're struggling. Are they struggling because they're not good at marketing? Are they having problems with marketing skills? Trying to get PPC going. Maybe they're not doing the cold calling the right way. Like where's the struggle coming from? You got to pinpoint it. Is it because they have bad sales skills? Then they need to work on that. Is because there's always a factor, right? You got to figure out what it is why you're struggling on getting that deal. Or is it maybe because, you are getting a lot of leads, but, some of them are just too close to the retail. Novations will help you get more deals, but I'll tell you what novations isn't. It's not a crutch for poor negotiation skills.
Okay.
Like you still want to get in there and do your best job negotiating this property down and anchoring them with cash because, I mean, we're a for-profit business. We're not doing it for free, right? And when I taught this to my team, when I first learned about novations, that's what they were doing. They were giving like the seller their first asking price, right? And locking all these deals up like crazy high. And it's like, no, that's not what novations is for. It's for we can monetize more dead leads. So if their need price is too much, that's okay. Maybe the mortgage payoff is more than we can offer in cash. Or can we capitalize a bigger spread in the deal using the novation model? That's what I really like novations for, is where we can capture a bigger spread, not because we're monetizing the dead lead. They're both good, but I'd rather capture bigger spreads on my current deals, which you can with novations.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's exactly what my personal business is missing right now, man. We just need one more like arrow, you know what I mean, in our quiver. I mean, we're just to that point right now where we're running good, we're firing on all cylinders, but yeah, now we need to like spray the NOS and get the nitrous oxide into the system now. And I think this is gonna be it, man.
Yeah, because you guys are already doing the wholesaling, you're already doing the seller financing. I mean, this is a great little, extra piece in your tool belt that's going to just, absolutely do wonders for you. Another thing, if you guys are fixing and flipping, and I wouldn't recommend it right now in this market, because we just stopped. I usually keep 3 or 5 going at a time. But novations, when the fix and flip market comes back around, it's great because you don't have no carrying costs while you're fixing up the property. And you can sell to an FHA buyer right out of the gate because they can use the seasoning rule from the seller.
Ooh.
The 90-day flip seasoning rule, yeah.
Okay, that's a gem right there, dude. That is gold right there. I don't know if anybody heard that, but you need to like rewind that and hear that again. That was good. Oh, shit. Okay, that's something that nobody thinks about. It's another hurdle right there to overcome.
Right, exactly. All you guys still come out of your rehab money, but I mean, no carrying costs, no money down, and sell to an FHA buyer, man. We've done a few of them.
Wow, that's huge, bro. Okay, sick. So are you doing seller finance deals?
We've done a few, not a whole bunch. I think last year we might have did like 3 or 4. We are pitching them now. We're coming back into where we're really training the team on it. Because remember how I talked about we just brought in the whole new acquisition team. The first thing we did was we had to make sure they understand wholesaling, how to pitch cash. Now they're pitching novation. So now they're getting novation deals. Now the next step is we're going to teach them how to pitch seller financing too. So that is the next step that we're working on. But we were in-house last year. Yeah, we were pitching seller financing then.
Can you do a hybrid deal? So I'm trying to piece this together in my brain. Can you do a novation deal where you can take the property, find an in buyer, and then create some kind of like node or wrap or anything? Is that still a good opportunity, or does that kind of dissolve your opportunity to create like a seller finance situation?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're putting yourself in the middle with a wrap or something, I can imagine. Yeah, I would see.
Let's say you got to give your seller like $100,000, and then you end up finding a buyer that well, I guess it kind of doesn't make sense because you're going to find a buyer for 130, 150. You're going to get cashed out at closing anyway, right?
You get cashed out at closing, correct.
Okay, all right. I'm just dreaming, just trying to make something up.
Hey, that's how you might create something. I mean, who knows, man?
Yeah, I always look for that opportunity to do like a wrap, look for seller finance situations, try to get where the in buyer covers your down payment and that kind of stuff. So you just create a note for nothing.
Right, you're just creating money out of thin air.
My sister and I, we joke about it all. She's my main admin, so she's like my stunt double, and we always joke and everything. We're like, why the hell did we get? Well, why are we getting payments? It wasn't our property.
I love it, man. I love it.
Cool, man.
So, no, I was gonna say, where can people find you online? And we're gonna put Novation Nation up, the website up again. And I hope people got a ton of value from this, and I appreciate you coming on, man. Where can people find you online on Instagram?
Yeah, the best place, obviously, is Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, it's Corey Geary, and the Instagram, my handle is the Corey Geary, so easy to remember. And then if you're interested in the mastermind and want a discount for being on this call, reach out. Just DM me. It's me that answers my DMs, so you can DM me, and it won't be a VA answering those, so we can talk.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've been to Corey's office, man. Corey's the real deal. He's crushing it. Obviously, he's always innovating and evolving with the markets as things shift. So we talked about this on a call yesterday that we did. Is grab a mentor. If you don't know what you're doing in this business, it'll save you a lot of money.
20%.
But grab yourself a mentor, somebody like Corey, who's the real deal, who's killing it. It'll save you a lot of time and it'll make you a lot of money. And it'll help you navigate through this storm we're about to hit.
Yep, absolutely, which is a good thing. This is going to be a blessing in the long run, I promise you.
I'm excited about it, man, honestly, because I'm actually having sellers texting us back now like, hey, can we talk about your offer? Like, what happens and not a chance in hell, bud?
Right. Opportunity is going to come to the table, and you're going to want to be able to capitalize, right? And that's in all assets. real estate, crypto, the stocks, everything, man. And when the government, I was talking to Sean about this the other day, when the government announces that we're going to do quantitative easing, that is your signal that we've reached the bottom of the market. Quantitative easing. And that is your signal to go out and buy everything you possibly can buy, whether it be crypto, stocks, real estate, don't care what it is. Just go out and buy it.
That's another gem, dude. So something that a lot of people don't understand is that when these crashes hit, people become very, very wealthy, or they already are wealthy. They become even wealthier. So to position yourself, right, historically for this market, you need to have a whole ton of cash saved up. And I would say 99% of our audience does not have that. So by using strategies like Corey's teaching right now, you can still capitalize at the same rate that somebody who stored up a lot of wealth to prepare for this season. So think about that, guys. $1,000, join the mastermind, $99.97. It'll change your freaking life. Trust me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, cool.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you coming on. For everybody listening to us, go like, subscribe, check out our YouTube channel, check out our podcast, hypewithus.com. And we're always here providing the content. Appreciate Corey for coming on. Appreciate Anthony for helping us out on this one. And for everybody, thank you. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Thanks, guys.